of our Vice President and Head of the Housing Agencies, Vice President Leni Robredo. Thank you, ma'am, for being here in the Senate with us. And could we ask the Committee Secretary to read into the record all the heads of agencies present here today? Thank you. We also thank the early appearance and consistent attendance of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian.
Good morning. We would like to acknowledge the presence of the Vice President, her staff, Mr. Philip Francisco D., Attorney Sofia Yanto Abad, and the housing agencies, Attorney Paulo Salvosa, HADC, Commissioner Antonio Bernardo, HLURB, Livia Alicia Ramos, National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, Executive Vice President Eduardo Manicio, SHFC, Ms. Corazon Corpus, HGC, GM Marcelino Escalada Jr., and Mr. Ignacio Ahmad Rizaldi Moti. Thank you.
Thank you. We're ready to hear your budget proposal. Would it be the Vice President who will make the proposal? The PowerPoint.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair. Good morning to all the senators who are members of the Committee on Finance, the chairman of the Committee on Finance, Senator
Before you proceed,
Loren
Madam Vice
Legarda.
President, we recognize the chairman of the Housing Committee in the Senate, Senator J.D.
Good morning, Mr. Senator. Our fellow colleagues in government, ladies and gentlemen, we have the honor to present to you the 2017 budget proposal. Madam Senator, I will be the one who will present the general overview of everything, but the heads of the key shelter agencies are here to answer the questions which the committee may propound. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the traditional mandate of the Office of the Vice President, Madam Chair. Okay. This, as I've said, this is the traditional mandate which the Office of the Vice President has been exercising for a long time. It's just basically executive, ceremonial, advisory, administrative, and constituency functions. But next slide, please. But when I assumed office, in June of 2016, the office decided to sort of reinvent the office and make it more advocacy heavy. So these are the strategic objectives that we have come up with. First of all, to support the administration's anti-poverty efforts by pushing advocacies that are focused on 5 thematic areas. The first area is food security and addressing hunger. The second is rural development. The third is universal health care. The fourth is education, and fifth is women empowerment. In as much as the Office of the Vice President doesn't really have the mandate to execute programs in line with these objectives, the strategy is to collaborate with private partners. To collaborate with partners from the private sector, civil society, and other government agencies, both national and local, in advocating effective policies and solutions for each of the thematic areas. What we're doing now, Madam Chair, is that we're organizing all the private partners who have programs in the 5 thematic areas that we want to pursue. And the concept is, after bringing them together, we strategize collectively, and after that, we're having a big anti-poverty summit for all the private partners in October. We will be presenting the results to government. So the role that we're looking at is that we would be the bridge that will link private and government projects in the five thematic areas.
Thank you for that. May I ask, why are we limiting your engagement with the private sector when there are particular agencies of government that can actually help you, and based on your consultation on the ground in your laylayan meetings every week, you can actually suggest, let's say, for rural empowerment, we can have the Department of Trade and Industry, their roving academy for micro enterprise, their shared services facilities where they actually give away equipment for micro enterprises. Let's say the DOST, they would have the Set Up Livelihood Program or the Start Up Livelihood Program, which is for rural development. In short, I don't think it would be illegal, or COA would actually mind if the Vice President can actually converge its efforts and give suggestions on what areas can actually assist our people better.
Actually, Madam Chair, that's the direction that our office is taking. I am a member of the Human Development and Poverty Alleviation cluster, cabinet cluster, and we've been meeting regularly. The head of the cluster is Cabinet Secretary Leoncio Evasco Jr. What we plan to do is we take care of the private side, and then after taking care of it, that's the time we link everything with government. Our only problem, Madam Chair, is that we don't have the mandate to execute all this. So our role really is bridging them with the government agencies that you have mentioned earlier. So what we're doing now is, for example, hunger. When we started meeting with the private organizations already, we found out that there are so many organizations involved in feeding programs, but there is no metric, there is no specific strategy on how to do it. So we're brainstorming with them, trying to understand what are the reasons for successful programs, trying to model best practices. So we're strategizing together, but after strategizing together, that's the time we link them with government agencies. I think government agencies now have their hands full with the transition and everything. So we take care of organizing the private side, but we can never really do things without the agencies. So we would be, so the concept is really, the Office of the Vice President will just be the one who will converge all efforts, and after that link them with government agencies.
May I kindly suggest, Madam Vice President, that apart from the private sector in the Philippines, that you also utilize, I'm sure you've met them, I mentioned it earlier, are many contacts and embassies, governments represented through their embassies and their funding assistance organizations like SIDA for Canada. They visited you in Kamsur, like the GIZ, which has been very active in providing assistance. If I'm not mistaken, the GIZ had provided the Climate Change Commission during the time of Secretary Sering, and up to the present, more than 5 million euro for implementation of projects. We can also link that with you and many other funding agencies. So you can also perhaps do that.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It would be very helpful if we can be assisted with linking with these organizations. But many of them are have already been working with us now. For example, in the first thematic area of hunger and food security, we've been working with World Food Program, Feed the Hungry, etc., etc. We have also made we have also done several engagements already with the embassies, but there is so much work to do. So if we can be assisted also in linking up with organizations doing programs in the 5 thematic areas we identified, it would be very beneficial to what we dream of doing at this point.
Recognize the presence of Senator Risa Ontiveros. Thank you.
Okay, I have already mentioned earlier the 5 thematic areas, but please give me a little time to go over them. The identified priorities all revolve around the concept of helping Filipino families out of poverty, especially those in the fringes of society. The first thematic area, food security and nutrition, the target is really to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. This is in recognition of the fact that we do realize that we can never solve hunger by just feeding alone. So we're tackling it with food security, in as much as poverty is essentially linked with hunger. The second thematic area, rural development, the target is to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Third thematic area is education. The dream is to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. With women empowerment, the goal is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. The fifth thematic area, universal healthcare, the target is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. We're now looking at the promotion of maternal and child mortality stats. Also, the first 1,000 days to promote good nutrition, especially for the children. Next slide, please. Okay. The details of the goals and desired outcomes in consultation with our stakeholders are outlined in this matrix. They are further presented under 3 major items. First, on improved health and nutrition of mothers and children under 5 years of age, the desired outcome is to be able to provide access to nutrition and healthcare programs. Second, on the improved income for families living below poverty threshold and access to assets and inclusive supply chains. Third, on improved access to inclusive and equitable education and access to senior high school education. These are the shared goals that will guide our work with our private stakeholders. Next slide, please. We see these priorities as an interrelated set of issues that affect what we call pamilya sa laylayan. Therefore, to be able to truly make an impact on the lives of these families, convergence is required among service providers at both the national and local levels. Next slide, please. We see our office as playing a role in facilitating the needed convergence by creating collective action platforms in specific underprivileged areas. While our proposed budget is comparatively lower than the previous year's budget level, we are positive that through prudent spending and adoption of a collective action platform, we will be able to achieve our set objectives through partnerships and the pooling of resources. Next slide, please. To enable us to achieve the said objectives, we have proposed a budget for fiscal year 2017 amounting to 428,618,000. And this is net of the 4,929,000 automatic appropriations for retirement and life insurance premiums. Of the said 428 million, 357 million or 83% will cover our maintenance and other operating expenses. 61 million or 14% for personal services and 10 million or 3% for capital outlay. This is the annual comparative budget, Your Honor. Our proposed budget for the Office of the Vice President for fiscal year 2017 was based on identified requirements of the office vis-a-vis our identified priorities. It was not based on incremental budgeting. Hence, comparatively, it will appear that the 2017 proposal is 14.28% lower than the fiscal year 2016 budget level of 500 million pesos. And may we be allowed to highlight the following. The recommended personnel services budget posted an increase of 25.35% compared to the 2016 budget level in view of the implementation of the second tranche of salary adjustments.
May we know the reason for the 14% decline, which, if personnel increased, it's the MOE. Which aspects of your operations, any training activities would be affected by the decline in the budget?
One of the biggest reasons, Your Honor, is that our MOOE dramatically decreased. First of all, because of our transfer of the physical space in our office. We're now saving at least 200,000 a month when we transferred from the Coconut Palace to the Quezon City Reception House. So that would take out a big chunk from our budget. We're also saving up for, because of the transfer, it will also dramatically decrease our utilities, electricity, water, etc. So this is actually, but it's in the second, it's in the next slide, Your Honor. I will explain it as we go along.
I'm sorry, is it 269, is this million? 269 million. Amendment of the Senate to increase your budget for this year, was it taken into consideration? That's already there.
Yes, it's already there, Your
in the
Honor.
present MOE.
Yes.
It was supposed to be for technical support services.
Yes. Can we go back to the previous slide, please? Yeah. Okay. As I've said, the increase in the PS budget of 25.35% was because of the implementation of the salary adjustments per Executive Order number 201. On the other hand, and this was what I was referring to earlier, the recommended MOOE budget for 2017 registered a 20.46% decrease compared to our 2016 budget level. I'll explain in the next slide the details of this. The budget proposal includes a 10 million provision for capital outlay intended for the purchase and upgrade of information and communications equipment amounting to 6.8 million and 3.3 million for transportation and equipment for the replacement of OVP's motor vehicles which have reached the end of their estimated useful life. Actually, Madam Chair, I don't know the count anymore, but the motor vehicles which were transferred to us, most of them cannot be used anymore. Yeah.
Vision for vehicles now for the acquisition.
Yes, we have. Also the computers. So most of these are just upgrading of the basic necessities. Next slide, please. This is now the breakdown of our MOOE, and this is in thousands of pesos. It may be worth to mention that the recommended MOOE budget, I was referring to this earlier, registered a 20.46 decrease compared to the 2016 budget level in view of the significant reductions in the following amounts. If you look at traveling expenses, our proposal now shows a 38% decrease from 59,740,000 to 37,270,000. Utilities will also decrease by 48% because we transferred to a much smaller office
Madam
space.
Vice President, I think it's sufficiently explained.
Yes.
We can actually proceed with your housing agencies.
Oh, okay.
Just a question, since your transportation was reduced, will it affect your mobility and visiting your constituents?
Not really,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. We agreed already that when I travel to provincial on provincial trips, we'll be traveling with a very lean staff. And I have instructed the office also that we won't occupy the best hotels. I just told them that my requirement is that the hotel is clean. Wherever the staff will stay, that's where I will stay. So there's really no need for a very big travel budget.
So in short, the Office of the Vice President's budget can live with its budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May we hear now
May-
the housing agencies?
May I proceed to the HUDC budget?